Of the Prophet ﷺ, he advised us, truthfulness leads to righteousness, and righteousness leads to paradise. And the man keeps on telling the truth until he becomes a truthful person. Falsehood leads to wickedness, and wickedness leads to the hellfire. And the man may keep on telling lies until he is written before Allah as a liar. A couple of other quotes, just kind of more modern day statements. The naked truth is always better than the best dressed lie. I like that one. Also, the truth may hurt for a little while, but a lie hurts forever. So with that, just kind of those words, the theme of tonight is obviously about lying. I think the topic on the flyer was why people lie and how to raise children to be truthful. So in truth, this topic is really kind of two parts. And we could have made these completely separate sessions, right? One just about lying in general, and the other about raising children. But we're going to try tonight to try to address both as much as we can. So my role here, I'm just going to kind of be a moderator. In case Sheikh Ibrahim and Sheikh Kamal disagree, I'm just sitting in the middle to break up the fights, right? No, just kidding. So in the beginning, we're going to give them some opportunities. We have some questions I'm just going to prompt them with. Give them a chance to respond. And then when we transition to the second part in talking about raising children, I think it's important that we hear from all of you, all of the parents. Especially, I'm really happy to see a lot of young people here. I'd be interested to see what they said about how their parents raised them or what led them to be truthful people. So with that, I want to start with the first question. This is for both Sheikh Ibrahim and Sheikh Kamal. What is a lie within the context of Islam?
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. A lie is the opposite of the truth. It's basically telling other than the truth. Any form that will make a twist against the truth, or something that is not truthful, or something that is opposite of reality, is a lie. And it can have different levels. It can be hiding the truth or hiding parts of the truth, not telling the whole truth. It could be complete telling an opposite 180 degrees from the truth, or it could be exaggerating the truth itself. You're exaggerating your reality. All of this come under the banner of a lie. Yes.
Great. Jazakallah khair. Sheikh Kamal, if we can expand on that. So from what Sheikh Ibrahim said, is a lie necessarily a statement?
No, it doesn't have to be. So it's whatever is conveyed, if it does not match reality, then it's a lie. But there are some exceptions, okay? And there's a hadith that everybody uses to, if you tell a joke, or because when you tell a joke, it's an untruth. If I tell you a fable or a fictional story, did it really happen or not? So according to our definition, it does not match reality because it didn't happen. And the Prophet ﷺ said, وَيْلٌ لِلَّذِي يُحَدِّثُ فَيَكْذِبُ لِيُضْحِكَ بِهِ الْقَوْمِ. So woe to the one, a severe punishment, it's a threat of a severe punishment, to the one who speaks and lies to make people laugh. وَيْلٌ لَهُ ثُمَّ وَيْلٌ لَهُ. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam repeats it again and again. So, but the exceptions to that would be, if I tell you a joke, is this a true story? I tell you, here's a joke. That's not a true story. And when I told you it's a joke, you didn't think that I'm telling you about something that's real and that really happened. So that's not considered a lie, even though it doesn't match the truth. Likewise, the scholars even said, if it's clearly a joke, I don't even have to tell you this is a joke. There was, there was a bird and it told its wife, whatever. It's a joke. I don't have to tell you it's a joke. Then they say anything that starts once upon a time, it's a story. So why would you think it's a lie or an untruth? Sometimes for da'wah, you come up with hypothetical or made up scenarios, and also that's not a lie. And the scholars did mention if you say something sarcastically. from the sarcasm, it's clear that's not what you mean. It's also not considered a lie. And if you see me standing outside in the street, like, hey, are you waiting for a taxi? Like, no, I'd just like to stand in the sun. But it's not what I'm really there for, but from my tone, you could tell that I'm being sarcastic, so that's not considered a lie. And the last one I have, stories that are not 100% confirmed are also not lies if you tell them. يعني النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم actually told us, حدثوا عن بني إسرائيل ولا حرج, that you can relate and narrate from the stories of Bani Israel, even though they're not 100% confirmed. He says, and there's no harm in that. So there are some exceptions, but if I'm telling you, the hadith is like, if I'm telling you a story as if it really happened and it's completely made up, whether I'm trying to get you to laugh or be amazed, that's what's haram. I hope that's clear.
It's very clear. Thank you, Sheikh. Okay, so the next point, and I'll let you guys decide who wants to take this first. How serious is lying in Islam? Everybody knows lying is haram. But can you give us some explanation or emphasis? How serious is it really in Islam?
Well, from the hadith that you started the introduction with, the Prophet ﷺ made a comparison between truthfulness and lying, where how one of them will lead to Jannah and the other will lead to hellfire. ولا يزال الرجل يصدق ويتحرى الصدق حتى يكتب عند الله صديقة, right? That a man will pursue the truth and tell the truth and pursue the truth and verify the truth all the time until he's written with Allah as a truthful person. ولا يزال الرجل يكذب, الكذب يهدي إلى الفجور والفجور يهدي إلى النار, meaning that lying will lead to obscenity. Lying will lead to wickedness, and wickedness and obscenity will lead to hellfire. ولا يزال الرجل يكذب, that a man or a person will continue to lie and pursue lying and becomes habitual liar until he is written with Allah as a liar. So imagine a person is labeled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the liar, and it becomes his destiny. Lying, that this person could never even tell the truth. The truth has no meaning in his life. He doesn't know if he's even living a truth. So it becomes dangerous. The problem with, like, you lie once or twice, but the problem is when it becomes habitual, where your lying becomes your life, where you don't know what you're living. What kind of truth are you living? What kind of reality are you living? What kind of reality is your family living because they're living with you? They don't know if they're living with the true you or the lie you. So that's how dangerous it is. Socially and Islamically, actually, it leads to hellfire. And it's antithetical to the concept of belief, because a believer is one who believes and tells the truth and shows his true intention as what his heart reflects in the belief. Whereas a liar, you don't know if they're telling you when they say, I am a believer, like the hypocrites. The hypocrites are the perfect liars. Yes?
It's a major sin. It's one of the major sins. It's important. It's not just like a sin. It's one of the major sins. It's a big deal. And we don't have colors for lies. White lies, or green lies, or polka dot lies. Khalas, lie is a lie. We don't have colors for that.
So if it's this serious, are there any situation when lying is okay?
Go ahead.
Sheikh. Go for it.
Well,
That one must be more difficult.
so then, no, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ mentioned where it's allowed to lie sometimes. But listen to what the Prophet allowed us to lie about. One is that you lie when you try to make peace between people. For example, Ahmad and Ali are in trouble, right? They fought each other. They're known to be really hating each other. But there is room for reconciliation. So you're allowed, as a person that wants to reconcile between Ahmad and Ali, You're allowed to go to Ahmed and says, by the way, Ali said a lot of great things about you. He said really good things. What did he say? I don't remember, but a lot of good things that he said about you. It's a lie. But in fact, what you did, you opened the door for Ahmed to see something else about Ali. So you prepared Ahmed to see that, and you go to Ali, or someone else goes to Ali and says, by the way, Ahmed said something good about you. Or you could make up something. Or you have nice hair, for example. Or something like this. So you open the door for them to accept each other, to start talking to each other and reconcile. So that is reconciling between people. You're allowed to lie. You're allowed to lie when, like, for example, your wife cooked for you a meal, but you don't like that specific meal. For example,
Let me give the example, Sheikh.
no example?
Let me give the example. It's a
She
serious
cooked a
example.
meal.
Is it a true example?
Yeah, no, not a true example. So, your wife cooks something, you don't like it. It's horrendous. So you tell her, what do you think of the food? You tell her, it's amazing. It is a meal fit for a prince. Here, prince. Here, boy.
No.
Okay.
No, that's
Example.
not what I meant. What I meant is, okay,
I think we know exactly.
all right, now that could backfire on you. So you have to be very careful. The idea is you want to preserve the relationship, right? It could affect the relationship somehow. She cooks for you, she put her efforts in there. She really did work on it. So what you need to do is you need to appreciate the effort. You need to appreciate the intention. You need to appreciate what she really did. And then it's edible, it's good, it's filling. You don't like it. When she says, what do you think of the food? It's really nice. I like it. Just don't overdo it, because she'll keep doing it, cooking that meal for you every day. But it's nice, it's nice. Once in a while, I like this food. I like to eat this food once in a while.
How about
all right, so you could handle
By the
it
way-
once a week or something.
Yeah, just a clarification for the young brothers. Edible is never a good description for your wife's food. Sure?
No, you don't
Edible.
tell her it's edible.
Okay.
It's edible, that means you can eat it.
Yeah,
Right.
don't call it that.
You can eat it. You're okay, guy? You're okay?
How about the classic example?
All right.
Does this dress make me look fat? Just keep a straight face and say, no, you look very small.
No. Okay, again, we're not. Don't be antagonistic like
It's
this.
not, Jack.
Just
I think we understand.
make peace.
I think everyone
You're
got it. Did
allowed
everyone
to
get it?
lie. You're allowed to lie to your wife, and not just to your wife. The wife is allowed to lie to her husband to keep the peace. Like, it could be where every once in a while she could say, you look handsome today, even though he doesn't.
He's a gorilla.
You look handsome today. I like your haircut. Something like this. He doesn't look handsome, but it's okay to tell him that, because he will go to the mirror and say, I don't know what she sees in me, but I'm going to try to look handsome for her.
But just so we're clear, it doesn't mean that you are out hanging with your friends and then when you come home, your wife says, where were you? At the gym. It's not just a green light to
No,
any
that's
lie.
not. That is
right?
not. Lying is lying between husband and wife to keep the peace, to make them feel better, and which is not really hurting someone. You're not lying, and by lying you're hurting someone, and make it into a habit where you were something. Okay, you were at the gym. Tell her I was at the gym. What's wrong with that? Right? Now you're meeting someone else. That's a problem then, which comes into a different category. But it is when the Prophet ﷺ allowed it, it's allowed it to keep the peace and to keep the relationship and make it where they even love each other more. And it's not like you're lying about the relationship. You're lying about little details that can make, like, you don't need to tell her your food is terrible. I can't even eat it. So, no, you don't need to tell her that. Or, for example, or she doesn't need to tell him, oh, you know, your haircut is horrible. Can you change it? With that look on her face. So that is the kind of lying you're allowed, because it doesn't hurt. Eventually, he will get the point to fix his hair better. Eventually, she'll get the point to make it, taste better. You know, it could be very salty, and he didn't tell her it's salty. And she goes and tastes it. Oh, that was really salty. Why didn't you tell me? Because he wants to make you feel better.
There was a third part to this?
The third part is in war, when you're trying to protect the Muslims, in war you're allowed to lie, because war is about propaganda.
So Sheikh Kamal, can we generalize this then and say, as long as I have a good intention, I'm trying to do something good, it's okay to lie?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. But let me just clarify the war thing. That's real war, okay? Because I know a lot of Muslims are like, well, this country's at war with Islam, and he starts lying at work and lying on the test.
Lying on your taxes.
Yeah, so the Muslims have not declared war against anyone. There's not an official war. And here, meaning, you're captured, how many troops are there, how many this and that, then you lie about that. It's not some guy living in America and is lying because, there's a war in Afghanistan. La Habib, it doesn't work like that. So you're saying, what was your question, sorry?
Can we just take this hadith as a general principle? As long as I'm trying to do something good, I'm not harming anybody, I'm just trying to protect Muslims, help a relationship, or do something.
Help a relationship? No. So if it's not,
Go ahead.
If it's not one of these, then there's no green light to make lies here. Like, khalas, but that's it, understood.
It could be where, there's a criminal coming, and he's coming, and he's known to be a criminal, and he knocks on your door. Are your parents home? Definitely you're not going to say, yes, they're home. Then he'll go in there and kill them. No, they're not. You're allowed to lie about something to protect your parents if you know that they are in harm, that that they will be like in danger. Or in a case where Ammar radiallahu anhu was asked to curse the Prophet ﷺ, or things like this, in a case where you're afraid for your religion, that you're allowed to protect your religion, to protect your faith. You're allowed to lie in a way where you're not. And it's not tuqya. I'm not talking about tuqya. I'm saying, because tuqya is when you hide, when you're completely hiding your faith all the time with no restrictions, and it's like you're living a double life. Like, it's close to hypocrisy, basically. No, a Muslim has to have the courage to show his faith, has to have the courage to pronounce and profess his faith and declare it.
Great, Jazakallah khair. So now then the next one is really the title, the part of the title for tonight's session. Why do people lie? And I know this has a lot of psychological explanations to it, and even non-Muslims in the secular world, they explain why this. But can you give us some Islamic perspective? Why do people lie?
Sheikh Ibrahim.
I mean, there are several reasons why people lie, and generally, you could see that definitely one of them is to prevent harm. A person that is afraid of being in harm's way, he lies or she lies about something to protect themselves, to protect someone else, like family member, they lie. To save themselves from embarrassing situations, they find themselves that they need to lie. Social awkwardness sometimes, people come and say, well, can we come and visit? And really don't want them to come and visit, but you don't want to hurt their feelings. You say, well, actually I'm busy today. Can we do it some other time where you are not busy, right? You could think of several scenarios where you don't have to lie. In general, in Islam, this is not really a problem, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن قِيلَ لَكُمْ رِجِعُوا فَارْجِعُوا هُوَ أَزْكَى لَكُمْ, that if you're told to go back or not visit, don't visit, or go back with that. It's better for you, better for your dignity, and better for your integrity, and don't have hard feelings. So, social awkwardness, sometimes it's self-esteem issues. When your self-esteem is based on what people think of you, seeking the approval of people, you start lying to gain that approval because your self-esteem is dependent on them, not dependent on your own accountability or self-accountability or self-worth, but you're depending on what people think of you to give you that boost of self-worth. And people lie because of this. So there are several reasons why they lie. And Islamically, I mean, they're the same reasons. Yes.
But, so if a person lies consistently, is there a spiritual reason behind that, Jeff? Is there something wrong with the person? Or?
Sometimes there is something wrong with the person, and I'm sure all of us knew someone who was like a compulsive liar. It was just no reason for a lie. They'll just come to you with for no reason. My cousin died. He doesn't even have a single cousin. Or I own this car and he doesn't. I knew someone like that. And this guy, he was so accomplished. I can't tell you how he was CEO of Fortune 500 companies and married me. I mean, he might be watching. The point is that he was just a compulsive liar. He can't stop it. He can't help himself. That guy should get help. But other people make lies here and there. One study actually said adults lie 2 to 3 times a day, and children lie from 3 to 5 times a day. And not only that, like we actually train our kids to lie. I don't want to get ahead of us, but we.
That's a good segue then. So obviously that's a very just brief introduction to the concept of lying. I'm sure we've all heard like an entire khutbah on the topic. So, but we don't want to. We want to kind of transition to the next part of the session tonight. And again, I have a list here. What I'd like to do is just kind of throw out some of these. This was actually from an article that was 10 steps.
Can I add? I'm sorry to
Sure.
cut you off here, but I mean, there's something important about people who compulsively lie, and that's when these people really need to go and seek help. Is when their true life is unbearable, that they cannot really live with themselves if they are true to themselves. They can't. They find it very difficult. The truth is unbearable. Like Jack Nicholson in that movie says, you cannot handle the truth. There are people who cannot handle the truth. And they cannot handle the truth of who they are, or the truth of themselves, or the truth of their environment and their reality. So they come up with a facade, a front. So they're living a front. They're living a completely different life that is not who they are, based on lies. Everything is about them is a lie. And these people are unable. I mean, psychopaths sometimes are like that too, where they lie the whole time because they really cannot handle living truthfully and living with honesty and be nice and sincere and honest with people. And in order for them to make it through the day, they have to continue to lie and have that affront. So, and that's when they really need to seek help.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. So going back to this, so we're going to just take some, basically it was just an article on some steps that we can take to help your child stop lying. So I'm just going to throw these points out. What we'd like to do is hear from Sheikh Ibrahim and Sheikh Kamal, and then maybe from each one, if this kind of sparks your interest or you have some kind of personal experience with this from the audience, we'll try to make the remainder of the session a little bit more of a discussion and interactive. So the first one is to establish rules. So like basically within the house, it should be a pronounced statement that we don't lie in this house. I mean, I think you've seen these house rules. People actually literally put those up, but not necessarily that you need to do that, have a plaque on the wall, but make it something very clear in the house, that in this house, honesty is the policy. So if you guys would like to comment on this one?
We have a rule that we use with my kids. If you tell the truth, you won't get in trouble. And if you lie, you will get in trouble. Even if it's a small lie, big lie, whatever size, color, I don't care, you get in trouble. And I'll tell them, tell me the truth, you're not going to get in trouble, but if you lie, you're going to get in trouble. And they'll tell the truth. And that's when I regret the rule. Because Because I want to get him, but like, okay, you can go. You're free to live another day at least until the next lie.
So that's actually another point here, but we can touch on it. Just one of the advices was to reinforce honesty.
Right.
So when
right.
someone's honest, I actually had a personal experience with this with my own dad. My first ticket, I was driving to school. I was in college. My first ticket, I got pulled over, and I got ticketed for 95 and a 70, just like a stupid ticket, right? And I was so afraid. My dad hates speeding. I was so afraid to tell him. Even my mom was like, just don't tell him yet. Like, we have to. And so I ended up waiting like 2 months, like just like almost till the court date arrives. I waited. It was in Ramadan, and we're about to break fast. I'm sitting with my dad at the masjid. I was like, hey, this is a good time, right? So I told him. So I said, look, I've been meaning to tell you. I was afraid to tell you. I got a ticket. I was speeding, going to school, and he was so cool about it. He was just like, okay, mistakes happen. I'm glad you told me.
Good.
And then he asked me, he said, well, how fast were you going? I'll tell you that tomorrow. All right, Sheikh, anyways, so about this establishment of rules.
Establishment of rules. What happens when you have rules in the house, the lines between authority and subordinates, like obviously your parents, you are an authority, and the children are subordinates, becomes easier. Now, what makes children lie sometimes is that you are an authority, and you are an authority that lives with them. You know, when you're at work, you have a boss for a couple of hours, doesn't check, but you're a parent, you're with them like white on rice. So that authority is there, which means that they will have to lie sometimes because they need to, in order for them to balance that. Because they need to break that authority. So when you have rules, you're telling them, me and you stick to these rules. I as the parent and you as the child stick to these rules. So it makes them not want to lie anymore, because to them, you know, first of all, lying is a vice and honesty is a virtue. You have to establish that from the beginning. That's part of the rules. And they will like to be honest all the time, especially when you enforce it. And in this case, when things are clear that we all adhere to these rules, and the rules are the authority on both of us, it becomes easier for them not to lie. Now you need to, as a parent, not to lie. Yeah, okay.
All right, so let's hear from all of you here. Anybody have anything within your own house that you found to be successful, or maybe not successful, about this point, about the rules of the house? In our house, we don't lie. Anybody want to share anything with us? I don't know if we have a mic for the crowd, but if, you can just come up there. If you just want to say it from where you're at, I'll repeat it for you. Anybody have anything to share about this one?
Rules. I mean,
don't tell me you don't have that rule in your house.
no,
right?
sisters really like to make rules more than brothers. Mothers more than fathers, honestly.
So by show of hands, how many of you have it in your house that lying is not tolerated? Just absolute. You can get away with a lot of different things. So is that it? Like, there's some hands that are knocked down. So I think the point is that it should be a rule, right? If it's one of our divine rules on us as a believer, certainly as parents it should be in our house, that in this house lying is not tolerated. You know what I mean? You might there's a whole separate argument about tolerating mistakes from your children, but lying is one of those that there's never an excuse. Please, brothers.
I think just reminding the kids that there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ said that the mu'min does not lie, but the mu'min steal, yes, but the mu'min do this and that, but the mu'min should not lie. So I think saying that to the kids, that would kind of open their eyes to how big is lying in the sin level.
Great. So just to repeat it in case you didn't hear, he's saying that just reminding your children that the Prophet ﷺ said that the believer doesn't lie. He may do such and such, but he doesn't lie. And so this is actually the same point I was trying to make. I think you elaborated on it perfectly. That if this is a rule on us from Allah, then in our house we can't accept this. We can't allow it. So that's the first one. Anyone else want to add to that? All right. So the second one, and Sheikh Ibrahim was about to grab it, and I stopped him. It's about being a role model. So obviously we can't expect our children to be honest. Is this the first point or this new one?
I have two questions.
Okay?
I also understand that there's different levels of different lies. So some lies are worse than others. So also I want to ask how harsh is the punishment for lying on walnuts?
Lying on what?
I don't know what I'm saying.
Like on what?
Okay.
Like on wallahs.
What is that?
Okay.
Wallahi.
All right. So just to repeat his question, he's saying that are there levels of lying? Are some lies
Oh,
worse
man,
than
of
others?
course, yes.
And then the
Yeah.
second part of his question, what's the consequence? He said, wallah. I think he meant if you break an oath, if you say wallahi, and then you say something that's not true, and then you break it. So I didn't know.
I'll leave the second part of Sheikh Sheikh Ibrahim, but the first one, yeah, there are different levels of lying. Obviously, a lie against Allah would be more severe than a lie about some event or something that happened in your life. So lying against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on that note, speaking about Allah without knowledge is a kind of lie against Allah Azza wa Jal. So never give a fatwa if you don't have the answer, just say I don't know. No, I don't want to give a fatwa, but then you give a fatwa. Just don't do it.
He
The other
lied
one
from the beginning.
Huh?
He lied in the
From
beginning.
the beginning, I don't want to give a fatwa, but I actually do want to give a fatwa. Other thing, lying about dreams you've had. Prophet ﷺ specifically in a hadith warned about lying about a dream, because a dream here meaning a ru'ya from Allah Azza wa Jal. Because you're essentially lying and saying Allah is sending this message. We have elections in the masjid and brother stands up, brothers, I saw myself in a dream last night and all of you were giving me the bay'ah, pledging to me, and Allah chose me as your leader. Okay, this guy is lying against Allah Azza wa Jal. And interestingly in the Quran also, when you overpraise yourself, Allah called that a lie. So be aware of those. But now what happens when you say wallahi and then you tell a lie? Sheikh Ibrahim.
So when you make an oath invoking the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon a lie, that is called al-yamin al-ghamus. And al-ghamus means that, we take al-ghamus when you dip your piece of bread in the soup or whatever it is that you want to dip in it, and you eat it. That's called ghams. So al-yamin al-ghamus is that thing that will dip you in hellfire. So you'll be like that bite that is dipped in the hellfire. That's how dangerous al-yamin al-ghamus is. It's when you say wallahi and you invoke Allah's name on a lie. That is a major sin. And for you to be clear from it, you really have to commit to a sincere tawbah, repentance. So yeah, you can't really lie on wallahis as you termed it.
Okay,
That's
so
dangerous. That is really dangerous.
So going back to what Sheikh Ibrahim almost grabbed before, the importance of role model, specifically with regards to honesty. Obviously, the Prophet ﷺ for us was the perfect role model of truth. So how important is it for parents to be role models when it comes to the truth?
There are some things that you cannot fix in your children until you fix in yourself. Like for example, if you go into fits of rage and then your child does the exact same thing, there's no way you're going to get him to stop doing that unless you stop doing that. There's no way you're going to have an honest child when they see you lie on the phone and lie to your friends. And many people are very relaxed with lying to children. When you lie to your child, that just encourages them to lie. And people don't understand how, to what level what you say to a child is considered a lie. And I grew up for once in this country where you want a child to come over, tell him, come, I have candy for you. And everybody would do that. Even other kids do it to smaller kids. Come, I have some candy for you. All right. There was a companion by the name of Abdullah ibn Amir ibn Rabi'a radiallahu anhu. He says, one time my mother called me. She said, come, I have something for you. So the Prophet ﷺ, he tells her, do you actually have something for him? She said, yes, I have a date for him. He said, make sure you give it to him. Because if you don't, it will be counted and written as a lie against you. So you can't just say things to children. And there's another hadith about breaking your promises to your child. So, but not of course things within or outside of your control, I mean. And sometimes you make a promise, okay, Wednesday I'll take you to Chuck E. Cheese. Wednesday you're busy, your boss is yelling at you, you can't take him to Chuck E. Cheese. And the kid's like, you promised. Like, be quiet, you promised me a lot of things, you're still misbehaving. What? We're even now. What I mean, What I mean is, like you actually couldn't make it, that's different, but you just give him a promise to get him off your back. Can we buy this? Khalas, inshallah, I'll buy it for you. Khalas. To get him off your back. Those are considered lies. Don't do that. It's serious.
So it's important to value the truth in front of your kids. And generally, your life should be based on truth. And that comes with, first, that you really have to be living your life with intention, like intentional in your life. You're not on auto drive, because on auto drive, you don't know what you're gonna say next. You don't know what you're gonna do next. So when you're intentional in your life, that means you're thinking before you're saying. You're thinking before you're doing. And if you're saying something away from the truth, you're not honoring the truth. So the idea is you wanna model to your children the truth itself. And you wanna make it where it's connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that Allah loves for you to be truthful. Allah loves those who are truthful. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu kunu ittaqullaha wa kunu ma'as sadiqin. Fear Allah and be among the truthful ones. You instill this in your children. Make it where it is the order of the day, the truth. The truth is important in your home. And that Allah is watching you and watching over you. Because sometimes if you continue to say Allah is watching you, they will only be afraid of Allah. You want them to know that Allah is also protecting you, watching you and watching over you. All of this will make them connected to someone higher than you. They love you, but they will start loving Allah more. And that will be the motivator for them to speak the truth. And when you model the truth in front of them, so you're walking the talk, right? You're not just talking. You're walking the talk. You're doing what you're saying that you're doing. And one thing is that if your child lies, ask yourself, what did I do that my child is lying? Why? Because he's a replica of you. Our children, I find it amazing how my daughter Amina imitates me so much, even though she doesn't admit it, but she imitates me so much, and it scares me sometimes. So when I see something wrong that she's doing, I ask myself, what did I do that made her do that? Because I know she imitates me. I know she does what I do. She says what I say sometimes. So it's very important to know that they're watching you and they're gonna repeat what you're saying. And if you laugh at a joke that was a lie, they're gonna try to make you laugh by lying. So do not glorify the lie and value the truth. Honor the truth in front of them.
Anyone want to share anything about that, please?
I know some children will lie to their parents in fear of disappointing them. So I feel as if parents should acknowledge their mistakes in front of their children and allow the children to
Excellent.
understand that
Wow.
I make mistakes, so I want them to feel more comfortable being honest with me.
I love that.
So you made a really interesting point that parents, I'll just grab the second one, it's important for a parent to admit that they make a mistake.
Right.
And then follow with an apology.
Yeah,
right?
own your mistakes, yes.
Yeah, an apology is some type of admission of truth, right? It's
Right.
a recognition that, you know what, I did something wrong. And it's a difficult thing to do. I can tell you that personally. It's difficult. That, especially when you blame your children for something, you assume something about them and you find they're wrong. It's important to admit, I was mistaken. You were right, I was wrong. That's excellent.
Excellent. Yes.
The child also picks up on that. Say like the child did something wrong, and then maybe there was something that was false, and then the truth became clear, right? That child will be able to come up and also clarify and say, that was what happened. Even if they don't get away with it, but because they see you exhibit that behavior, then they are also able to be more honest.
Excellent. He's basically just kind of reiterating the same point, that the child will mimic that behavior. I think I saw a hand up over this side. Yeah, please. Okay.
There was.
Can you repeat it? Just
Yeah. She was saying, what about lies over your phone? I'm on my way, and the guy's still in his bedroom with him. I'm stuck in traffic. He means 3 pillows. And the other one was, what was the other one? I forgot it already. Hiding the truth. Hiding the truth. Ya salam. Excellent. So for the first one, there was an interesting study that said after the invention of the cell phone, certain types of lies increased. Because in the old days, before the cell phone, if you called someone at home and said, "Are you coming?" he can't say, "I'm on the road." You know he's in his kitchen, right? But after the cell phone, it allowed people to lie from all over the place. One of my friends, this was overseas, he said he was on a bus and everyone's just quiet on the bus, and this guy's phone rings. And the guy is like, "Where are you? Are you coming?" He's like, "I can't. I'm at the border. I'm at the border." And the entire bus just burst out laughing, and he felt so ashamed because he wasn't aware that he's lying in front of everybody. But that does enable people's, it makes it easier for people to lie. But it is a lie. I mean, are you on your way, or are you in your bed? You're in your bed, so khalas, don't lie. I haven't left yet, but I'm about to leave. Just tell the truth. The other thing is, hiding some of the truth is not a lie. Hiding some of the truth is not a lie.
It is a lie. It's tadlis.
Huh?
It's
Yeah, but that's not a
tadlis.
lie. Tadlis is not a lie. Why does it have a different name if it's a lie? Sah? The minute something has a different name, there's some different flavor. Yes? Don't ruin it for us, Sheikh.
Why the accent?
Oh, I do that all the time. I'm teaching kids these days, so I'm used to doing accents now. But Sheikh, why is it a lie if I hide some of the truth?
So I have a question about this. So what if you suspect that your child did something wrong, or you know they did something wrong? Tell me what you did. If they don't tell you, are they lying to you?
If they don't tell you?
If you say, what did you do? Did you do this? Did you? If they don't, are we supposed to force that truth out of them?
No,
however difficult it
it's
is?
different. What hiding some of the truth is different from not telling the truth.
Yeah.
Not telling the truth is like, okay, in this case, actually they say adults can always declare the fifth. So I declare the fifth Amendment, like I don't want to incriminate myself, right? As an adult, you can get away with that. But in the parents, when you're a child in front of your parents are not going to accept that. A kid is not going to say, "I'm declaring the fifth." That means you did something to incriminate you. So they're going to keep going on you until you tell them. So
If they declare the fifth, you give them the fifth.
Okay, give the chance to give the kid a chance to say, "I'd rather not say." And let them be. Teach them in a different way where you don't need to know what they're hiding. Because sometimes you may be very disappointed, and sometimes they really are hiding something that they think is really dangerous, but when you know about it, it's nothing. Or maybe I don't know, maybe they smoked a cigarette, for example. He doesn't want to say, "I smoked a cigarette."
So are you saying it's okay?
I'm not saying it's okay
No.
to
As
smoke a
parents,
cigarette.
No. I meant as parents, should I accept the answer? I'd rather not say.
Yeah, because you don't want him to lie.
I'm not sure I agree, Sheikh.
That's very white.
Please, okay. Rushdie, we're gonna scratch this one from the recording.
I don't want to say. You better say, "I'm your father." You don't want to say, "I'll make you say things you never thought you were going to
Okay,
say."
think about it this way. Think about it this way. He's your kid. He's right there. He's not going anywhere. You will find ways to teach him to tell the truth without being afraid. The problem now, he's not telling you the truth because he's afraid. So you're forcing him to tell the truth. You're making him even more afraid. So he's going to be forced to lie. Now what happened is you need to deal with the situation in a different way where I need to build trust with my kid. So that if he tells the truth, it's not the end of the world. Give you an example from the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. One of the companions sent a letter to the enemies that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is coming to Mecca on such and such day, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel to the Prophet telling him there is a letter going to Mecca carried by an old lady. So he sent after her 2 companions. They got the letter back, and he read the letter. It shows. So he came to him. Now, some of the companions wanted to execute the man. And he came to the man and he asked him, why did he do this? And he told him the truth. Even though it's a heinous crime, it's a treason, yet the Prophet ﷺ forgave him, and he said, Allah forgave him.
Yeah.
And he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looked upon the people of Badr and said that He has forgiven them, so they'll do whatever they wish. Meaning that generally they will not. They're the best of people. But the idea here is the Prophet ﷺ, no matter how hard the truth is, he honored that the man told the truth. And he let him go.
I mean, but don't you think that is a better response than allowing the kid to say, I'd rather not say? Don't you think the better approach is to, like what Sheikh Kamal committed to earlier, that if you tell me the truth, the consequences, I don't have the rule that there's no consequence, by the way. Your consequences will be less. That's in our house. Like, it won't be as bad for you.
I'll take
I'll
10
be-
years off your sentence, huh?
But I'm not sure, and I'd like to hear from other parents as well. Would
But
you accept from your
let me
child? I'd rather not
Let
say?
me qualify my answer. Let me qualify my answer. And I would, if my child says to me, Dad, I'd rather not say, I will accept that from him, but then I will work on my relationship with him. Why he'd rather not say? Is he afraid of me? What is he trying to protect? He's protecting himself, protecting our relationship. I mean, how fragile my relationship with my child when he is not willing to tell me what he did. That means I need to really work on strengthening it, and maybe there's something I'm missing that I need to work on. The idea is, you as a parent don't get a free pass. The child may get a free pass. As a parent and as an adult, that is your product right there. You need to fix that relationship with him so he'll be comfortable and strong enough and courageous enough to come and tell you that, yes, I smoked a cigarette or I did something.
I mean, I can agree with that. Yeah, meaning, because I really believe in, and I had this point, that you allow people to save face. It's very important. And this is from the mannerisms of the Prophet ﷺ, that he never faced you with that which you hated. And he allowed you to save face. Like, nobody ever got cornered and embarrassed. And even people who came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, I committed this crime, he would turn away from them a number of times. He wasn't trying to always uncover and dig up dirt. So always allow people to save face. And I'll give you an example. If somebody, and I know someone like this, if someone steals, if they know someone stole something or their child or whatever, he'll just say, you know what? Just go look for it. Maybe it just fell, one of the kids brought it, or maybe the dog brought it under your bed. Just go search for it really hard and bring it to me. But he won't push him because it's too much. Allow people to save face. And there are times when that's not acceptable. I'm sure Sheikh Ibrahim would agree. Like, there was a murder when your son was out with his teenage buddies, and he said, what was your role in the murder? Dad, I'd rather not say. La, this is serious. We're going to get you a lawyer, so tell me, right? But yes, there are times allow people to save face. Now let's try to answer that question. So, I borrow your car, to pick up my kids or something. I scuff it, I scratch it, and I just come and give you the keys back. Jazakallah khair. I didn't give you the full truth. But isn't it ghish? Isn't it deceptive? And man ghashana falaysa minna. So maybe it doesn't fall under lie, but it falls under something else, haram, right? I didn't tell you an untruth.
Right.
And sometimes it could be, because it depends on what you're omitting here. But so it depends. But it could be under ghish, for not revealing a truth makes me a liar, or makes me deceitful or a cheater, or someone that's not trustworthy.
Well,
So from my personal experience with kids and from seeing juveniles who are charged with crimes, when you push too much pressure, you sometimes get a false confession. They tell you what you want to hear.
Exactly,
They
yes.
make a distinction for if there's a harm, like someone stole something, if the child just stays quiet and keeps the thing they stole, it's not acceptable for the child's perspective.
so Brother Amr is saying that in his experience, I think it'd be valuable if we know what your experience is. Can you introduce your background a little bit to qualify how important this advice is?
I'm a criminal defense lawyer, so I appreciate this.
So he's saying, so Brother Alman is a criminal defense attorney. He's saying in his experience with juveniles especially, when you put pressure on them too much, then, I'm sorry, I don't want to misquote you.
They'll give you a
You
false.
get false confessions.
Yeah.
You get- yeah.
Yes.
You know, on that note of allowing people to save face, there's one time when Aisha radiallahu anha did something, and the Prophet ﷺ was not happy about it, and she knew he was unhappy, and then suddenly she asked him a question about the Day of Judgment. She changed the subject. Do you think he didn't realize she changed the subject? He realized it, but he understood that she's also very embarrassed and she's trying to move on
Yeah.
to something else that's less uncomfortable, and he allowed her to change the subject. Now what happens when you catch your spouse changing the subject? Oh my God. First of all, you feel like the smartest person on earth. Your husband changes the subject and you catch him like, wait a minute. You're not dealing with some idiot here. Does it say moron on my forehead? You think you're going to change the subject and I'm just going to, like an idiot, not pay that. Come back to what we were. Khalas, he's embarrassed. Let him save face. So always allow people to save face. It's very, very important.
I feel like a little bit on an island here. Like my experience with my own kids was that and you have to be sincere to it, that if you tell me the truth, the consequences will be less. And not necessarily that I would force them to, but that we encourage it to the point, like I have a hard time with this idea that I would accept that from my kid. I don't know if anybody else supports me. Amr's in court, man. That's different. The kid's going to jail if he tells him, you know. But like within the house, right?
That's a good point. And I think it's like important to note, like I have young kids, so the biggest crimes are who spilled the juice, who broke the mash'arif ish. You got teenagers, maybe it could be like who smashed the car. It could be worse than that. So you know, with the little kids, we might change it, go to your rule after a while.
Yeah.
Like you go from maximum security to just minimum security prison.
Anyone else want to comment on this before the next point? So the next one's interesting, actually. Let's talk about consequences. So when you find out that somebody wasn't truthful, when they break this rule of the house, what are the consequences? I'll tell you. I was talking. I'll embarrass him. I think he's here. Yunus. I was telling him, about this talk, and I was just preparing these points. So I was talking about consequences, and I was joking with him. I said, don't you agree that you should beat a kid if he lies, just to make sure? I was just joking with him, and he said, I don't know about beating. He said, but yelling at them works. I was surprised. He said, I lied to you, and you got really, really mad, and you yelled at me, and I didn't want to lie to you after that. So I'm not advocating that. Just it's interesting that sometimes we have this very soft, I won't say white, like Sheikh Kamal would describe it, this very soft idea that, the consequences should be just you talk to them. So what's appropriate consequences for not being truthful or honest?
We need a crime though. You got to give us a crime first.
You tell me.
So what I think is we should differentiate between consequences and punishment. And the idea that consequences should not be about punishment, should not be about pure punishment. It should be something that you allow the kid to grow and rectify. In my opinion, you shouldn't really be looking for the lie. You shouldn't really be investigating if your child is lying. If you found out with your intelligent lie detection, if you saw the series Lie to Me, there are certain things clues that can show you, and these are scientific research that did and experiments that did it on people. You could tell if somebody's lying. So if you found out that, but you're not 100% sure that your child is lying, okay, work on rectifying rather than exposing. And that's why I disagree with pushing the child to tell you if he's lying. First of all, don't push him to lie. Number two, if he lied, don't push him to admit the lie.
Fair enough.
Why do you need?
We're talking about when the truth is exposed. I'll give you an example.
Why do you need to know?
I won't say which of my brothers. Growing up, I remember that one of my brothers snuck out, and my mom stayed up. She's waiting for him. She's waiting by the front door. The door never opens. She hears a noise in the room, opens the window, tries to sneak in. Busted, right? So he obviously lied. He snuck out. So like in this case, forget the last point. Somebody obviously lied, deceived you, did something that they weren't supposed to do. They didn't tell you the truth. What are appropriate consequences? Obviously, there's different grades of lies and breaking the truth. But just to be specific, I mean, is getting really angry at a child, yelling at him, is that appropriate, right? Are consequences like taking their privileges away, even like physical punishment? Like, are these things acceptable? Are they positive responses to trying to teach a child to tell truth? Like, this is what I'm trying to kind of probe you and the rest of the audience about. This would be an interesting one for our young people here. What worked for you, right? Like, what did your parents do to you to help you when you got caught or when you weren't honest with them? What worked for you? What type of response was positive for you? So, and floor is open for anyone.
The answer is yes, man. Yes, you can yell. Yes. The answer is yes.
Okay, I disagree with the concept. Children lie because they're afraid of you yelling at them. They're afraid of the punishment. So if they're not afraid, they won't lie. So that is like you can say it's catch-22, right? You remove the punishment and they won't lie. What I'm saying, okay, they're afraid of you. I asked my little one, Zaina, why do you lie? He said, I don't want to be yelled at. Okay. Now she gave me a reason why she lies, is that she doesn't want to be yelled at. Okay, so what is the option? Tell the truth. Okay, if you tell the truth, you're admitting to a breaking of the rule. Now what happens? If it is a consequence there, they're afraid of the consequence. That's why they lie. You caught them in a lie. So it's catch-22. So what I'm saying is, I think as parents, you really need to think this very carefully so you don't make them having to lie. And just let them talk to you and work on rectifying the behavior rather than exposing their lie. Consequences, it has to be in a matter of growing. Like, this is a consequence that will help you grow. So what I'm saying here is, it's not a punishment. You tell them this is not a punishment. This is for you to grow. All right, I'm going to take away, let's say, a privilege, because this privilege harmed you a little bit. I want you to just have some time growing. Go do this activity. So now, corporal punishment, you have to be careful about this too, because that could actually cause them to, like physically punishing the kid or spanking them. All of this has to be really very carefully examined. And first of all, you need to develop a loving relationship and a trust between you and your child so they can come and tell you. Because at one time, they can come and tell you that somebody did something bad to them at school, for example, or bullied them at school. That you need to build that trust that they can come and talk to you about this. So that's why we really, when you talk about money, I think we as parents, it's okay to go ask experts what to do and find out.
Please go ahead. You had your hand up. So I don't know how much, some interesting things were said, but this last one I think is a good question. Like Shishendra's a question, if we just continuously let it go and we don't impose on them consequences, are we actually teaching them not to lie? Like if every time they get caught, yeah, my parents, if I lie, they know I lied, they don't say anything, right? If there aren't any like real world consequences to the lie, that doesn't teach them anything.
You're not letting it go. It's just you're not punishing them. You are modeling the truth in front of them. You're enforcing, rewarding the truth, rewarding telling the truth. You go in the opposite side. This is a child who's learning, and they lied, and they're gonna lie again and again. Okay, you need to work on that. So what I think is if my child lies, I will look at myself first. What am I doing that makes this child lie? Or go to the school. What is the school doing that the child is lying? Or go to the environment. What is the environment? In a way where I have to do the work. Sometimes choosing to punish the child is choosing the easy way. Thinking that when you hit, the child they'll just become a better liar. They'll become experts at it. And there are children who are like that.
I'm hoping some of the crowd, will jump in here. I disagree. I think it's not always so soft. Sorry to give so many personal stories. That's all I have for you, right?
It's not being soft.
Like for example, I remember when
it's rifq. It's called rifq in Islam.
When one of my children,
being
I
being
won't
gentle.
say which one, but one of my children, like 13 years ago, he was in kindergarten, and every day he'd come home. He said, "Do you have homework?" "I don't have homework." Every day, "You don't have homework?" "I don't have homework." And like just every single day, like you knew that, like it was, and we didn't. And I said, "If you're lying to me, you're going to get in trouble." And we made it a point that if you lie, you're going to get in trouble. One day, I'm at work, my wife calls me, she says, "Look, the teacher said that we found out that every day, instead of putting his homework folder in the basket where he would take it and he would stick it under the shelf so nobody'd see it, so therefore he doesn't come up with any homework." So I got all the laughs out, right? Brilliant, right? Sneaking out, but I punished him for that. And it was hard. I didn't like doing that, but I don't know if it was right or wrong, but I think at that point that we told you, like you suspected the lie, didn't force it out of him. But once you become exposed that, okay, you kept lying to me, trying to avoid, not a consequence, trying to avoid like your responsibility. And then when it becomes obvious that you've been lying to avoid that.
That's very good though. You added responsibility. Accountability. You're talking about, you need to build accountability in the child so they don't have to lie. Why they lie? They're afraid for their self-esteem. They're afraid to be yelled at, so they'll feel small. If you give them the safety and that they are really valuing their accountability, valuing the honor of truth, the honor, okay, I'm telling the truth, I'm honorable. Yes, the truth hurts, but it's nice. It feels good. My self-esteem is higher now because I'm telling the truth. A lie eventually will make them feel even smaller. So what I'm saying, you added the word accountability here, or responsibility, personal responsibility, which means they're going to own their mistake. They're going to be okay in saying, "Yeah, I didn't do it. I'm sorry. And I can't promise that I won't do it again, but I'll try." For example, these things, it is, okay, what needs to be done is you need to build in the child for them to see self-esteem in different than your opinion of them as a parent.
Not everything's about self-esteem. I'm going to keep talking
Not
so some of you jump in and support me here, right?
Why don't we hear from the youth? I was
please.
going to say, Yusuf, like, what did your parents do right?
I think the first thing is it's a case-by-case basis, and also you need to learn your child's personality, which I think is very important. So growing up, it was always me and Hadid, my sister, and I was always way worse, getting in way more trouble.
You were.
So the way they dealt with us were a little different, So I think that's super important. The way you deal with your child will reflect upon you and them in the future. But I just want to make that point. It's super important to differentiate. You have to learn your child's personality. You can't treat them all like one. Because some of them, if you've been, they're going to snap.
So elaborate then. What about this idea of consequences? Like, were there consequences on you if you lied?
There's
You're over it now.
Oh yeah, I'm over it. I needed it. You know, but it's just that point. You have to learn your child's personality.
I'm not against consequences. I'm against punishment.
Okay, but Sheikh, I got
Consequences is growth. You're using, you're focusing more on helping the child rectifying his behavior rather than punishing him. So he'll get better at lying. Okay, you lied
ahead,
today,
please.
you get punished. So next time you lie, make it
Let's
better.
give her a chance.
My parents kind of existed. So in me, my older brother, and then I have two younger siblings. And me and my older brother got hit a lot because we're kind of sick. And that worked for us. But for my younger kids, they had my younger siblings, they had a different personality. And so kind of like what she was saying, they treated them differently. And so to us, it wasn't fair because we got hit, like we got physical punishment. But for us, that was how we learned consequences, and that's how we learned that what we did wasn't right. But for them, they got like their phones taken away, their laptops taken away, stuff like that. But because they cared more about that, and we cared more about like physical punishment. So I feel like he was saying, you have to treat your children differently and learn their personality.
So two young people said the same thing, right? That different children reacted to different types of consequences, right? So,
And I do agree with them, and I think it's harmful to adopt a one-size-fits-all approach, right? Because with punishment, what happens is if the child does tell a lie, right, and then you punish them, that can actually be a negative reinforcement, meaning that they know that if I do tell, when they tell the truth and you still punish them, then they know that, oh, if I do tell the truth, I'm going to get punished, right? So, you know, that motivation to tell the truth kind of goes away, you know, and if you also just ignore it like all the time, then they're going to also feel like, oh, well, I can get away with it. So I think it's also like looking at how is that child, right? Why are they lying? What's the reason behind? Kind of what Sheikh Ibrahim said, like trying to see the deeper meaning behind what's going on, and not just, oh, they did this, and so I'm going to punish them right away, right? It's more like they did this, but why did they do it, right? So like the child that hides his homework, is it because he's scared that he's going to fail the homework, and so he doesn't want to do it? And so that would be something that's more deeper to look into, as opposed to just going straight to either just, oh yes, overlook it, or just punish it right away.
go ahead.
I think something. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu
Salam.
I have 3 kids, and I think something that I would have to work on, and maybe other parents, is that initial reaction that we have when our child does something. Breaking the child, whether it's by hitting or by reprimanding, it's not helping fix the behavior. We're actually destroying their self-esteem.
I like
And
that.
they'll grow up without honor, without
Like
izzah,
that.
without being proud and strong and having self-esteem in themselves. So what we try to do in the house is me and my wife found a few habits that the child has, that our kids have, that we want to help them fix. And what we tell them is, if you make a mistake, you're forgiven the first time. If you make a mistake the second time, you're forgiven. The third time, you're forgiven. After the third time, then you'll start losing the nice things that you get in the house. Like you might lose your TV time. You might lose your snacks. So that'll help teach them without destroying their
I like that.
self-esteem.
I like that.
We're not really punishing them.
Make them responsible. Give them responsibility. You have the child be responsible. Next time they will think, okay, the truth was better. Telling the truth was better for me than telling the lie, or presenting myself completely right and upright is better for me than faking a situation. So I like that. Yes, it's you're giving them responsibility.
And they look up to us. Every small thing they see.
Yeah.
Ahmed, go ahead.
My dad doesn't beat me, but like whenever I lie to him, it's just like it's like so scary. But my mom, like it'll be like she'll be okay, it's okay, and just like next time don't do it.
So what do you respond to better?
What?
Do you respond to one better than the other?
Which one do you prefer? Of course you do. Who wants to be scared out of their wits?
But Ahmed, let me ask you, doesn't that fear of the consequences help you avoid those things, right? Doesn't so we lie oftentimes because we get ourselves in a situation that is unfortunate, right? So one of the best ways to do that is to not do those things, right? Not to make the mistakes. But if you were to go to your dad, big scary Dr. Nadeem over there, and you were to admit to him a mistake, he would respond to you the same scary way? It's less, better? If it's too much, let me know. We'll talk to him. Go ahead, please.
I feel like sometimes, though, some kids, they're more scared of the consequence than realizing it's very wrong for them. So they just think it's not them, then there's something wrong with their life. So I feel like the idea of instilling accountability to counsel something more about that than just having.
So that's a beautiful point. Can you just restate it again, just so I don't misquote you? The first thing you said.
Sometimes the kid is more scared of the consequence of the parent's reaction than realizing the severity.
That's right.
Yeah, and so I think that's an important point, that when it's, all kids make mistakes. It's much worse for them to lie about the mistake than to make the mistake in the first place, right? Like, definitely the reaction when you make a mistake it's how you respond to that, so critical. But if they lie about it, that's a different level. That's a different level. He had his hand up first, please.
First, Jazakallah khair for, I came in a little bit late, so I didn't hear a lot of the comments, but this is a very big topic that's basically taboo in our community to talk about. And that's one thing, so I appreciate, or I guess we may appreciate it, and you guys are forthcoming and giving us the platform to talk. I mean, I was born and raised here in the States, Jersey, and we were raised differently than I see the kids being raised in Texas. So areas where you're raised is, I feel a lot of people are a little bit more privileged here than opposed to being born and raised in a much more less impoverished, more impoverished community and upbringing. But really, I think the support, because I'm one of 5 kids, but I also have 5 kids of my own. So I'm like trying to always figure out what's the best scenario, how to deal with the kids. So when we grew up, we were bad, but I feel like the kids today have a different type of bad or good, just because they have access to a lot more things that we didn't have growing up. And what we try to do with our kids, we try to remind them of those the hadiths and the sunnah and the seerah of how that lying is a very critical, very a serious situation. That once you lie, you are basically, very difficult. You put the parents and themselves in a very difficult situation. We always remind them that a mu'min will, the hadith, I don't know if you guys mentioned it, about, you can lie, you can cheat, you can steal, but a mu'min will never lie. So there's an area where, we remind them of their faith, to upbring and remind them how to reconnect with them. So anytime they do something, we try to implement that or remind them of that, and I think that goes a long way. And I just like the sister was mentioning that she used to get physically beat growing up. I was physically beat, but alhamdulillah, it was best for me at that time. I can't do that for my kids.
The good old days, huh?
Good old days, right?
Good.
Okay, I wanna. It's getting a little bit late, and we'll close soon, inshallah. Can you just hold the point? Is something you really want to share? A hard one. So when trust is broken, and especially within the context of a parent to a child, so you find out that your kid just blatantly lied to you, or they were doing something. So reestablishing that trust, it's again, even if you deal with the consequences or you forgive them or whatever it might be, then the next time that they tell you something, it's difficult to believe them, right? And that damages the relationship, right? Because then I experienced this with my own children, right? And no examples here, right? But you know, after you experience some circumstance, a situation, and then they're feeling that you're skeptical of them afterwards. That they tell you, I'm going to the gym, and they can tell just by your expression, and they're right. That you wonder, like, are you really doing that? Are you really doing the last time you told me that you were doing something else? So this is a really difficult situation that I think, especially for parents of teenagers, that they probably deal with when the trust is broken. How do we reestablish trust? I think it goes. I don't think this is only the role of the parents, by the way, and I would like to hear from the young people as well. But if either of the imams want to share something,
let me talk about the trust issue. Now, it's a family where the parents are the source of love, right? And it doesn't matter when a child lies, it should not break the trust. What I mean by that is you don't close the door against your child, because your child is learning, your child is growing. That is the way that they experience things, and they experience things by making mistakes, and they may lie about it. I don't know why this is your product, and now you are not trusting your own product. I mean it metaphorically. I don't mean it like Allah created them, definitely. But what I'm saying here is you need to build a relationship that no matter what your child does, he can always come back. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the opportunity to always come back to Him, and the trust is rebuilt, that we repent to Him. So when your child comes after a couple of years and he says, Dad, I'm sorry, I made mistakes I'm not proud of, can we start over? Yes, we can start over. Now,
with all due respect, I don't think anybody here will disagree to that. I'm talking about the stain that is left after trust. Just the human weakness that you lied to me, you broke my trust. I feel suspicious now, like me as a parent. You tell me something, now I doubt what you're saying. And that's negative to the relationship. So yes, I agree. You forgive them, you go past. But I'm talking about when you've reached the point that the trust is broken. How do we go from there to restore the relationship?
I don't see it this way, though. I see it where when you say that, how are you going to give the child an opportunity to grow if you are not allowing him to, allowing him to show the truth, believe him? One of the things that you really help your child is by believing him. So if he like you,
I think it just, even if you don't believe him, let him feel he's believed. So the next time they're going to the gym and you're doubting, are they going to the gym or not? Tell them, listen, that thing that, or the time they didn't go to the gym, listen, you didn't go to the gym and you lied to me, but from now on, no more lies. And if you're not going to the gym, just tell me you're not going to go to the gym. But I always want to trust you. Like I do this with I've never had a student cheat ever in any of the tests I've given. Because in the beginning I tell them, I know that you're Muslim youth and you will not cheat on a test, especially an Islamic studies test, or especially a Quran test. And I've been teaching kids since '94. I've never caught a kid cheating until today. So I let you know that I am trusting you. Don't break that trust. You broke it once. We're going to start fresh, because a second chance, everybody loves a second chance. We're going to start fresh. Mm-hmm. And then they can grow and feel safe. I'm being sarcastic. I can't stand when people say safe space.
Okay, come on.
I always tell my kids, you are not safe in my class. Don't think this is a safe space. It's a very unsafe place.
All right. From parents, moms, dad, or even my young brothers and sisters here, like, any advice about this? When the trust is broken, how do we go about reestablishing the trust? Nadeem?
I think you have to earn it back. I don't think it's not something you're going to be given. You broke the trust, you're going to get the consequences, and then you got to earn it back.
You know, I mean, I don't. You can hear from my son. You know, I have a little tougher approach. You know, and I think it's important for them to understand that yes, they've disappointed me, and they're going to have to earn it back. And I may ask a few more questions next time, and I should.
No free second chance, huh?
Fair enough.
I'm not going to get bitten again. You know.
I'll come back to the brothers. So, did I see a sister's hand over here? Okay.
So basically, what he said, what he could help them to earn back that trust.
Sure.
Right, by having that open communication with them.
Yeah, the rules might change, right? I might trust you with the phone I gave you, and you do something stupid with it. The next time, if I ask to see your phone, you shouldn't, you should just hand it over, right? So I agree. The rules might, I think that's a very good practical advice, right? I agree that it's, my point, by the way, my question even that I want to hear from you is there's a lot of practical things you can do, but there's some things that just in you that are hard to overcome. Just that suspicion. I can tell that with my children that they feel that, especially with their mom. When they feel that their mom's suspicious of them, it affects them. She doesn't trust me. You know, you broke her trust, but I haven't done it since. But that feeling that your parents don't trust you I know that is burdensome on a child, but I'm a human with this weakness that, you broke my trust, I don't trust you.
Let it motivate them for the next time.
Yeah.
No, it's not such a bad thing. Not every guilty feeling is a bad thing.
Right.
Good, let them feel guilty, and that'll motivate them to not.
I understand that.
Go ahead,
Just
let's give
the
her a
idea
chance.
is, why should, the whole idea is, they have no place to go. This is where they find love.
Go
This
to
is
their
where they
room.
find.
You get love
No.
tomorrow. Well,
No,
look at
you-
Kullu, I'm giving love all day.
No.
Let's
Okay,
hear from the sister.
it's-
She had her hand up for a moment.
It's important to keep the door open for them.
Yeah, I'll open it tomorrow. Today is closed. Go home.
Go ahead, please.
It's a motivator, absolutely.
Yeah, we do. Sorry. Agreed. Jazakallah khair. I'm sorry, I didn't realize how late it was. That's my apology. I should have tried to moderate the session better. I'm going to just give Sheikh Ibrahim, Sheikh Kamal just a moment to give a closing remark and then wrap up tonight. I do appreciate all of the good feedback. I'm sure there's a lot more to discuss. But just if you could just maybe in 1 minute just kind of give us some take-home advice here.
Well, nobody disagrees that lying is wrong, lying is bad, lying is dangerous, is horrible. But also what is more important, I think, is that we do the work as parents, that we do the work, that we don't choose the easy way, and that we model the truth, we honor the truth, we reward for the truth. And in order for you to, minimize lying in your children, highlight the truth. Praise them for telling the truth. Praise them for the truth that they have and the honesty that they have, and build integrity in them and accountability, honestly. Let them have that self-accountability, and for them to know that integrity is something that is valuable, and lying is completely against integrity. And you can go nowhere in society if your integrity is tarnished. So if you build that in your child, their self-esteem is not dependent on you. Their self-esteem is dependent in, a self-earned value in them. That's where their self-worth is, connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rather than to other people or what others think of them.
You want to close, please?
They're saying make the announcement for Islamic Police fundraiser tomorrow. No, I think what Sheikh Ibrahim said is decent. So I'm just going to tell you a joke. Okay. So this guy comes home with his eye bleeding. His wife goes, "What's going on?" He said, "I was sitting, me and Abdurrahman and Mustafa and Fatima. Then a guy with a machete comes. He chops off Abdurrahman's arm. He busts open Mustafa's stomach and he hit me in the eye." His wife said, "Who's Fatima?" That's all she cares about. Who is the woman? I don't care about your eyeball, who got busted.
All right.
That's it. I'm done.
Again, thank you, everybody. I apologize for it going a little bit long. I appreciate the feedback and interaction from everyone. Before we close, we're going to allow just one announcement, inshallah. But until next week, inshallah. Subhanallah, bihamdi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Allah yabarik feek. Assalamu alaikum. Can I have your attention, please? Will Walid Jabir please stand up? All right, he stood up. Guys, look, youth, everybody, let me have your attention. My name's Muhammad. This is amazing that you guys came, but I want to say one thing. There's a saying that I learned when I was a kid, and I think it's important for everybody to know. In Arabic, listen to this. It's called a sahib. Sahib. The friend pulls you. So whoever convinced you to come to the masjid today, that's a good friend. Any other friend that convinces you to do something else that's bad, that's not your friend. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says quickly, الأخلاء يومئذ بعضهم لبعض عدو إلا المتقين. Close friends on that day will be enemies to each other except the righteous and God-fearing. So have a good friend. Tonight, inshallah, I want you to go to your parents because they're your sahib today. I know some of your parents are here. And ishab, take them and pull them to MCC tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Because there's going to be a beautiful Quran night. There's a lot of huffaz, a lot of qurra, famous from around the country that are coming to recite beautiful Quran and beautiful nasheed and have a beautiful spiritual night. And Imam Suhaib Webb is coming here. 15 minutes away, MCC, free dinner, bring your parents, sahib. And we're going to be raising funds for our brothers and sisters in Pakistan. And you know what happened in the floods in August? We're going to remind you, inshallah, tomorrow night. Be there, bi'idhnillah. We'll see all of you there, bi'idhnillah, inshallah, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, MCC. This is with Islamic Relief USA.